Hello, everybody. It is your professor, Rocco, your boy, with
Rocco, your girl.
here to talk to you about our experience at the Claymore Doubles Tournament. So, because y'all did smash all the likes on the battle report video, and we did go to a tournament, so this is kind of a best of both worlds here. You get a battle report of 3 games, and we get content. And we had a fun time at this tournament, right?
Yes.
We got to wear matching couples team shirts,
Yes.
so she's the beauty, I'm the beast. And we had a lot of fun. It was put on by the Orlando family. Shout out to Martin and his parents. They did a fantastic job. They run all kinds of conventions and tournaments, and they're just really fun people. And let's start off with our lists here. For my wife, I did come up with the list out of her collection of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
where she said, and I quote, I want a list of the stuff that I like to play, and we can just work it out great. And we did that. We got her favorite models in there. She loves the Spirit Tournament, like just like the locks of it. Uh, Actually, tell them about the theme of your army too while we're here.
Yes, the theme of my army is a wedding because of Lady Olander being in the white wedding dress. And so my banshees are bridesmaids and my Harridans are just really fancy guests to the wedding. So
Mm.
everybody has a role in my head and they're all very bright colors, gold, purples,
Yeah.
and blues.
Yep, and it's also a beach wedding.
Yes, yes, it is indeed a beach
So
wedding.
we've got banshees coming over water. We've got sandy beaches. You'll see pictures of it throughout the presentation. And that is what we brought. We brought Battle Line Spirit Host that were reinforced to be a big anvil. We got our Chain Rasp Board to be cheap throwaway chaff for screening. Mirmorn Banshees to be anti-magic and to do some great damage with the Neg 2 Ren D3 damage weapons. Red Scythe Heritance to pop up out of Deep Strike. We've got an extra artifact. And the thing with Nighthaunt armies is once the one important hero dies, that's generally like a 5 wound hero, the army falls apart.
Normally.
Normally, this build, what we did was we have 3 different heroes. All of them are actually equally important and bring something to the table.
As well as the battle line.
Yep.
A lot of, as you'll see in our battle reports, that the chain refs ended up blocking up and bringing everybody into combat, and they focused a lot of time and attention trying to kill these 10 chain refs.
Yeah, the amount of times that she denied people broken ranks as a battle tactic is just like ridiculous, and I just love it. And also, we gave the Midnight Tome as a second artifact to the Karen Wraith there to give a Spirit Drain in case we ran into any Mega Gargants or Dragons. And we have the Pendant of the Fell Wind, which, until there's a new Nighthaunt book, is my favorite artifact to give everybody near the Spirit Torment plus 3 inches to their movement. And also, we have Rule of the Spirit Host to return D3 models back in the hero phase. The Spirit Host returns D3 wounds back to units, or 1 wound models, back in the Battle Shock phase. The Guardian of Souls brings models back and gives a +1 to wound buff. The Torment gives a rerolling once to hit buff. The Karn Wraith's just good in combat.
We also brought another artifact that made the Wraith a wizard as well.
Yeah, with the Spirit Trance spell. Which is why we have the other thing too is we have the Hunters of the Heartland Battalion. So the squishier 1 wound but very killy Mirmorn and the Dreadsides could live, and then the Spirit Hosts are just that much more annoying.
Mm.
For my list, we've got the Deepkin running Futan before the new book drops, where we have, I have all narratively named my stuff because it's been through different narrative campaigns, map campaigns, the Animosity campaign we did. So my hero is Astra of Atriamento. She's my Tidecaster. She's my general. She gets 2 extra wounds from Born from Agony and has a 6-up ward save from an artifact in the book called the Black Pearl. Some things with this is you couldn't double up on battalions, or you couldn't bring the same artifacts, and if you're using the same book to play out of, you had to have different like sub factions, and you couldn't repeat war scrolls. There's a bunch of different things because this tournament was actually a test run of rules for some Warhammer World events. So this is what we did here. I brought 2 units of the new Reaver War Scroll for the Namarti Reavers, the Archers, that did dividends for me. The Shadow Knights are my Chilean Guard, the defensive eels that are unrendable. Then I got Shelly Baby Girl, who's the picture of everything. I love her to death. With the reverberating carapace for the extra range on her aura ability, which currently still is +1 to hit for Namarta units if an enemy is wholly within the aura, and gives my army +1 to save. And it's all wrapped up in a battle regiment to be 1-drop. The Nighthaunt, we don't care to be, we're fine with it being a 7-drop because we've got bodies and screens and chaff and tankiness. And I believe there was even a game where we still outdropped somebody. So we got to choose.
Yes.
And it was a fun time. All right. Next, your girl here made some gorgeous notes because she is a book nerd.
I am.
And did some very cool things that made people jealous that they only used AoS reminders, where she had tabs for like if different spells went off, she'd put it to the different
The reverse
quarters.
side.
Yeah, no, and it was great with everything there.
It was also my first tournament, so I was really
Yeah,
nervous. I was going to forget stuff, and this way I wasn't trying to scroll through my phone 1,000 times
mm-hmm.
or try to look at what buffs my general or my spirit
Mm.
torment gave on top of the normal stats of the unit. So this
Mm-hmm.
way I had it all on one piece of paper,
Yep.
and people at the tournament also often called my units by the wrong name since
Yep.
a lot of the names are really similar.
Uh-huh.
So this way I could just try to verify which unit they were talking about, and I didn't feel like I was constantly just staring at my phone asking about the wrong unit.
Yeah. No, and it went great. Got a lot of compliments on it from the weekend, from social media about it.
People
And,
said they're going to copy me.
yeah. And part of it too is if you're handwriting notes, it helps you retain the information better than if you just read it because it's you read it and then you've got the muscle memory of writing it. There's a whole science behind that we won't bore you with. So
It was
let's
helpful to me. That's all that really matters.
helpful to me too. So let's get into the games here. Our first game was against Chuck Moore and his buddy, I believe his name was Mike. We had the nice first game 1 selfie, and these are their lists. So Chuck didn't play Daughters of Cain. He played Barak Thringi, where I probably mispronounced that because I don't see it that often. And with these lists, I don't have the pronouns and stuff, so I just did it really quickly in War Scroll Builder. I don't remember the grand strategies or the triumphs. Actually, this one I think was have a battle line. I'm gonna remember because of my stupid memory, but still done up quickly for y'all to see this. It was a lot of Arcanaut Company and frigates. They had to change up their battalions at the beginning of the game because they didn't get that in the pack early. So they went hunters, they went battle regiment for the 1-drop. They outdropped us, and our strategy going into this was make them go first because uh, they deployed one of the units of berserkers with broadaxes in the dirt and deep strike, and we know they could teleport their ships that had all the Arcanaut Company and the Admiral in it, and it was one of those things where they're a shooting army primarily, so we can't take a double turn of that if they get everything off. And we wanted them to go first, and they actually took first turn, which is nice. And also with the flame spitter, this was using the new Volkite uh, with Sling Shield. It was all the new War Scrolls for all the new stuff that came out, minus the new hero. And it was a game. Let's get into more about it. So deployment, you can see on the left here, their deployment was very straightforward. And the battle plan we played, by the way, is Power Struggle, where there's 5 objectives, 1 in each quarter of the table and 1 dead middle. And this is the one that you've seen me talk about before, where it got FAQ'd to be weird on how to actually take the objectives. Where like if you hold it, they take it, then you take it back. It counts as you holding it for the purposes of scoring this. It's a little complicated, but they deployed very conservatively. Ships in the middle. They were joking that it was a bodyguard job for the KO ships. They were all just gonna hold themselves together. In that back right corner where Mike is, you can see the units that are actually off the table in reserve. He has them on top so he didn't forget them. And then our deployment, you can see on our left and our right there, it was too big of an angle for me to get a good picture, so I took 2. I was heavily deployed on the left. The Nighthaunt were middle and right. And how'd it go? Well, pretty good.
Yeah, we won.
Yeah, we won. They took first turn. They put again dwarves in the middle, dwarves on either side. We actually went in aggressive with her Nighthaunt. We took their back right objective with a Nighthaunt charge with her Harridans and a hero supporting them and wiped them off. I was able to pin cushion the middle dwarves like good elves do, and then we doubled. And these pictures are actually the before and after of us fighting the frigates because they didn't actually move from the middle. They took sniping shots, and it was, go into a 3-up unrendable unit of defensive eels or try to shoot Nighthaunt. And if any Nighthaunt even died, they regened back, so it
They
didn't even
did.
matter. And
I went in his grudge book for that.
yeah, no, he has a little notebook you can kind of see there behind the one frigate where he was writing the grudges like a good dwarf should. And again, that's the before and after of Shelley knocking out the gun hauler, and then the eels actually got a charge to loop around a frigate with the Harridans there, and her Harridans finished off like I did like one wound, and then she just murdered the frigate.
Yes, they sliced it right open.
It was great. And then the dwarves have a rule where if they're inside one of their ships, you normally roll a bunch of dice. Any ones, dead dwarves come out. But that was the frigate that had the collapsible, not the compartments. They had the prudency chutes. There we go, where they don't have to roll, but you still have to have space to land. And unfortunately for Chuck, there we had surrounded the ship so well the dwarves had nowhere to go, so they got crushed by their own wreckage and died. And
So
this
we never saw them.
no, not at all. Um, so yeah, our double turn was great. And even at the end of our first bottom of battle round one, we held 4 objectives. We only scored, hold more in our battle tactic. And because it's got the weird scoring where you have to hold the objective for 2 rounds. But then battle round 2, we just immediately scored max points. We picked our battle tactics, and we didn't actually drop a battle tactic the whole event.
Nope.
And the scoring for this was you got points for a major win, a minor win, a draw, minor loss, major loss, and you also got bonus points for each battle tactic you scored. And that just helped us throughout the whole event. And we were able to deny plenty of battle tactics throughout this as well.
Wait, tell them about the picture, your jaw or your Jurassic Park moment.
Oh yeah, that was when Shelly was about to attack. I started doing the Jurassic theme park song. uh, yeah, no, I'm giggling too much. It was just a nice joke with great people. I'd play them again in a heartbeat. I talked to Chuck from Strength Hammer.
Well, that's actually why Chuck took this photo because he thought it was hilarious with you like positioned behind
Yeah,
the units.
and going da, 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 da. And, that's what Warhammer should be. It's jokes, it's laughing, it's fun.
We had a lot of fun during this game.
Yes.
I didn't even know we were winning for
No.
most of the game.
It was I don't even remember the score because we stopped keeping track at one point and then we were just playing it out for them to score battle tactics to see how many they could get to try to just get those extra points. Like he did a fly high with his general because the Arcanaut he survived his boat crashing in the gun hauler with the collapsible compartments that let him get into that frigate, and then they double turned where he could get out and then score the battle tactic. We have 2 guys in your opponent's deployment zone, and then we slowly picked off everything, and we just boxed in the remaining Fire Slayers with Nighthaunt so they could never walk onto an objective outside of their own, and slowly ground them down, trading mortal wounds for mortal wounds with the Spirit Hosts, and then everything else that came crashing in there. And also, we were very good on scoring bonus points for battle tactics with Shelly, our monster, and denying people different things with that. And again, we won! Major victory, max points scored. Then on to game 2, Survival of the Fittest. We played a team of Sylvaneth and Soulblight Glacier Lords, where it was 2 friends that were local from South Jersey, and one of them got them just converted and painted up both armies. It was beautiful, and the other person was really intent on playing the armies. Because sometimes that happens at doubles events, where like we went into this as equal partners and players. Yes, I was team captain, and I was deferred to for some things, but it was the first tournament. But like all the dice rolling, tactical decisions, once we laid out our plan for the turn, movement, all that was all on her. doing her stuff, and I did my stuff. We worked in concert. We're the old married couple, and
Yes.
we have our own shorthand for stuff.
Yes, mostly without words.
Yep.
We'll get to that in game 3, though.
Yeah, that's more of that. So again, Sylvaneth was Gnarlroot doing. I know it as the Math Mellow build because I know the guy who did this the very first time at a tournament in England. He's a great guy. Where a Warsong Revenant uses Throne of Vines to stack the +2 to cast to just murder people by shooting mortal wounds out of an umbral spell portal. And then they've got multiple monsters. This is Survival of the Fittest, where there's 3 objectives diagonally through the middle of the board. And more importantly, there are Predator units. You determine this when you finish deploying unit. You pick 3 units that are on the table to be your Predator units. You score a bonus point by killing a Predator with a Predator. And it's a very fun, flavorful thing. And this is one of those where, again, it's just you hold one objective, you score 1, hold 2, you score another point, hold more, you score a third, do your battle tactic, do it with monsters. You can run up the score with the Predator points. And there were a lot of monsters in this game. And also the Soulblight army itself was greatly designed, with being the Blood Knight focused sub-faction, with a Vangorian Lord as the general, with the Fragment of the Keep, Swift and Deadly. Manfred is a jerk, a lovable jerk. He entered the old world. Model was gorgeous. Drycha was fun. It was an interesting game. We were on the top table, and the one guy on the other team kind of played it a little too seriously and tried to rush the game and tried to make up for lost points. They went first. They mortal wounded us. We didn't die.
And then the Banshees got to use a rule that they never get to use, really. They got to eat the spell
portal. Yeah, that was great. And it ended up being a whole thing, and we denied them a lot of scoring on turn 2 and 3, where at one point we were up 8 or 9 points because and then we were scoring Predator points and monster points, and we kept track of our score, and the time kept kind of running out on them, and it got to the point where okay, so mathematically, where are we going into battle round 3? The rounds were a little bit shorter at 2 hours and 40 minutes, and it was a lot of second guessing what battle tactic they were going to do. They'd start and they're like, oh, no, I want to change it to this. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever, because we don't care. And then we actually had to call the rules judge because we had a question on the rules pack. Because again, this was a brand new pack that was being tried out. This is different than the doubles event I did at Du Bois. It was a different order of operations for how you attack and how you fight. We had pooled command points. I can go on to this for an hour. I won't bore you with that, but I like this pack. And then the other guy just was not happy that I called the judge for a question for us. And it went a little downhill from there. And then he, when dice were called down in between rounds, when we were up by 8 points.
We think.
No, I know, unfortunately. Because...
well, the hard part was we couldn't get a straight answer when dice down was called.
What their score was.
Yeah, we couldn't get a straight answer on what their score was. So then eventually our judge had to come over, and then we just kind of had to talk it out as best as we could. But when you get to that point, it's a little downhill and hard to talk through at that point because you're not in agreement, because it seemed like our opponent didn't keep good track of their points, so we had no way of verifying
even from their teammate who had the score counter, and it was just rough. And the one person unfortunately did have some complaints from other people too, from the tournament judges, from other people, and it was just not a fight we were gonna have or want to have. It shouldn't be a fight. We're playing with plastic toys, and
we had to move on because this was only the second round.
Yeah.
There was a third round to go, and we were getting into the evening at this point.
Yep. So we just agreed to a tie.
Well, we tried to.
We tried to, and then the person tried to say they scored more battle tactics than us, and then scored as many as us, when it was a very big point of the game that we denied them too. And I'm like, yeah, dude, whatever. They did deny us our grand strategy, which again, we either won by 4 points, 1 point, 8 points, or we settled on a minor loss.
Yeah, for the sake of the tournament and moving on, we settled with a minor loss.
Yeah, and actually, battle round the third game started 20 minutes late because of this, and we're like, you know what, for the sake of the tournament, we're just moving on. Life's good. We don't care that much.
We tried to say we moved on multiple times,
And he wouldn't let it go, and that's okay. You know, it happens.
but this did help us going into game three
Yes,
because of our technical minor loss.
we got down paired,
Yeah, we
and they
got
got up paired. Um, and because we had the same exact score at the end, because we scored so many battle tactics, and it was just a weird time. But the important thing from this is sportsmanship, and also our goal going into this tournament was just to play 3 games. And then when we did good in practice, like okay, we just want 1 game to win, and we already won our first game. So life was great, and we had friends there. We had club mates from the Basement Wargamers, so we had a blast. So we're like, okay, yeah, whatever, we'll go on. And we played a couple other locals from South Jersey in the Vice. So this battle plan is special because the objectives move throughout the game. You don't burn anything, nothing crazy like that happens. It's just so battle round. What is it? Battle round. Um, Battle round 2. The objectives move in from the very far table quarters in towards the middle, and then battle round 4. There is 1 objective left in the middle, and it's played the long way for the table.
I know we had to move our chairs.
We did. We had to move
Everyone
chairs
was a little
around.
annoyed.
Yeah, no, but the beauty of this tournament setup too was you could walk around the tables. It wasn't like we were packed in like sardines for all the teams that were there. So again, plus to the venue, there was a great pizza place across the street that was selling pizza by the slice. It was as good as New York pizza. I'll give it that. And I miss New York pizza because we're down in DC. And we played an Iron Jaw list with the Choppas and a Stormcast list. And now, if you remember from the last tournament I did, Shorehammer, I played 3 Iron Jaws armies in a row with their new book. I'm familiar.
And he might have a little bit of experience with Stormcast.
It might be my icon for a reason because that was my first competitive army that I won all those tournaments and I got known for before Cities. So I'm just smiling because like I know their game plans, I know what they're doing, and we're going through the list, and I like the Iron Jaws list a lot with the touch by the Wog to do D3 mortal wounds to a unit near the Shaman. It could be an enemy unit to try and get extra bonuses to casting, and I like the War Chanter has it's not shown on here because the War Scroll Builder glitched, but it's an Arcane Tome to do Basham Lads and brutes, and the mega boss is scary, and I love this list. It doesn't need to be pigs to do damage, but it is slow. And to go with that is Shootcast. The big scary thing with the Vanguard Raptors and the Judicators and the Hero Phase shooting. This is it. This was Shootcast. So the tables above us were the people we had the minor loss to, and cities, and I believe Gargant. And then the table above that was Oops All Dragons and Living City with Fulminators. Shout out to my list. That's very similar. And 2 halves of Mega Gargants fighting each other. So it was Metafilth, and then Nighthaunt. Nighthaunt and Deepkin that nobody believes is that good until you hear what happened. Where in the Vice, this picture is actually top of round 2 because I was late on taking pictures for their deployment, but they deployed in line, backboarded. We came up top of 1 because I said we got to make a gambit here. Where we threw Harridans and the Karen Wraith, who, again, is so cheap. You can get away with this and not lose a lot of points. And if the Harridans do get in on a Nighthaunt charge, it's great. But we had a chance to just steal their back right objective immediately if we made the charge. We didn't. But then they spent bottom of 1 and top of 2, where they double turned us, to clear that out. And their armies aren't moving fast. They're moving like 4 or 5 inches. They've got long range shooting.
And they didn't really use their movement in those rounds.
No.
They
couldn't. We pinned them back.
That's true. They really spent that time trying to kill the Harridans, and I still had other units in deep striking.
Yep. And that's the other thing too. With us with deep striking and them in deep striking, they put 400 points of judicators and the unit of vindictors in the sky. And they don't have teleporting in this list. They don't have um on either thing actually. They didn't have a lot of long range magic. Footagoric is great, but I might see this more as a, I don't know, like the Great Green Hand of Gork could have been great to just throw brutes in our face like we did with Harridan's, but still strong lists. And we, this is our deployment. So what we did, if you've seen any of our videos, I talk about the deployment, screening, taking up board space. You see these big gaps between our units, but you also see that 9-inch ruler. There was literally no place where they could land in our deployment zone, and when we dropped the Harridans and the Hero, we literally controlled, God, probably 2/3, almost 3/4 of the whole table where they could not drop those judicators. And places where we would let them, as we slowly moved up the board, were like, if they wanted to not be near the one hero to do the big scary shoot in the hero face command ability, they couldn't land near him. And we just kept choking him out and out. We almost controlled the whole board, but we left just a sliver on one side where they could drop by battle round 3. And they had to play 500 points down.
Yeah, and they got trapped by my spirit host that I eventually deployed out of Deep Strike. And then they deployed almost within a Nighthaunt charge range of my, like just outside, like a 10, 11 inches outside of my spirit host. And then I did end up charging them.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I got a Nighthaunt charge. I did at some point, and then it was kind of game over. Yeah. But
you did good. You only need like 1 or 2 each game, and you got them. And it was great. And we also eventually took one of their objectives from them that they had to try to fight to take back, and it took them a long time. And in the Vice, if you can steal one of your opponent's objectives to score, because it is a hold 1, hold 2, hold more scenario, and it's very hard to hold more until there's one objective in the middle.
And I did it with my chain rats.
You did. They just snuck up there with the extra movement from the Pendant of the Fell Wind. And just, we ran them too, so they went stupidly far. An extra 9 inches of movement on top of their normal, I think it's like 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're going 15 inches to go and steal the day. They slowly move up the board. The Eels got an amazing charge with the turtle on my fight first battle round with Deepkin, where every battle round you get a different rule currently. One of them is for the battle round you have always strikes first. And my Deepkin were actually able to hop over a unit of brutes to get into some heroes and pin the brutes so they couldn't use their cool rule of if they're contesting an objective against 1 wound infantry, they don't count as scoring it. So we pinned the middle unit of brutes. The one that went to go fight the Harridans got cut off. And I slowly whittled them down with 1 unit of Reavers while bringing another one up in the middle to just contest anything that came our way if they chose to deep strike. And then eventually, like when I brought all 20 of my Reavers to bear and the turtle shooting and the turtle fighting, it was just an overwhelming firepower and combat ability from Shelly Baby Girl. And also, I don't have the howdah on the back of my turtle because it's flimsy and it keeps falling off. And to store it better, I'm going to eventually magnetize it, but I keep it around for painting judging. But when I play my games, I'm like, yeah, it's like an extra 4 inches higher. There's nothing on any table that I could actually hide behind, and that's okay. I don't care.
I think one of the coolest things we did was one of our battle tactics was to go into our opponent's territory.
Yeah.
So we just made sure that everyone was in agreement on where the middle of the table was, because our tables did move a little bit if you leaned on them too much.
Yeah.
So we made sure we were all in agreement where the middle was, and we got our 2 units over into their territory, which then that's when I realized our secret plan that we just kind of like telepathically figured out or knew together, because we didn't talk about it because we didn't want to like play our hand out too much.
Yeah.
But I figured out at that point that we actually controlled most or all of the board, and that this was battle round 3. I think that was our battle
round 3. We did that,
and so I knew going into 4 that when it moved into the center, that we actually were surrounding where the center objective was going to be.
Yeah.
and that I knew that we'd be denying them points for round 4 and 5, and so that for us, by points wise, the game was over.
Yep.
And then I had to remember that we play things out to make sure everyone can get the maximum points they can
For battle tactics and bonus points and whatever.
But being new to like the tournament scene, I was like, why are we still playing this?
Yeah, man, we could call it battle, because that's the funny thing too, because we spent so much time from battle round 1 on pinning them backwards. They never made it halfway up the board, even through all the fightings, because then we just went in waves and waves of ghosts and elves and turtles, and
We only lost one unit. I think we only lost the Harridan, or I only lost the Harridans.
you lost the foot hero with them too. But yeah, it was
one small.
Compared to, we tabled them, except for like the foot boss.
If we'd actually continued playing out the whole thing,
no, because we got top about around 5. I'm like, it's one of those.
And I won the roll offs.
Yes, you did. She did all the roll offs. She did great.
I won them when they mattered.
Yes. So and again, don't forget to like and subscribe if you didn't notice the big glaring message there. And we ended up with 2 major wins, extremely convincing wins, and then the minor loss. And how did we finish up with all this? We got 2nd place. We did very good. So for her first tournament ever, we also got a 19 out of 25 for a hobby score, which is great because my wife did an amazing job painting her Nighthaunt over the last month.
I did get a lot of compliment on my Spirit Hosts because they're they look like they're made out of a metal alloy because I dry brushed them in gold, so they're not solid gold, they just look metallic. Yeah,
and did different washes and all these different layers and techniques and highlights. And she, at the time when she first started the project years and years and years ago, she didn't know about Shaman being a thing. And I'm like, oh my god, this is like perfect. No one does metallic ghosts. And there's lore.
I still don't terribly know, but...
And that's okay. That's the fun part of this.
I just did it because it looked cool.
Yeah, it is very cool. And then we also, as prizes, won another box of Chain Raspcord, which puts us up to 50, which is like a sweet spot number right now with how Nighthaunt's situated if you want to run a horde.
And a 2nd Lady Olander. So I will figure out what I want to do with that.
Yeah. But it was very cool. We had a very fun time as Team the Roccos. Next we're gonna get her the Beast shirt too, because her Nighthaunt just kicked butt, took names. The unrendable armor save, the ward save on top of it. Again, we denied 4 or 5 battle tactics throughout the tournament just on like having to kill the Nighthaunt to either take objectives or like there was one time too where like someone had a monster, they charged onto a point into Shelly to try to like kill her because they got a little greedy, and then we killed them back, but there were 3 Harridans that like outnumbered them still on a point, and it was just everything was smooth as butter from our list design builds that we've had videos on here, our screening, winning with movement, all of our videos, they really do work. And we got to do a nice shout out for our channel and for our gaming club, and also our gaming club friends came in 3rd. That were actually the team with the 2 sets of Mega Gargants. And, it was a blast. And the winner of the tournament, surprise, surprise, was...
All Dragons.
It was Oops All Dragons. It was 5 dragons, because we had 2,000-point lists. And the Living City Fulminator build, which, again, I love those builds. It's great. And it's a tournament. You should expect to see filth. And there were 3 individual Mega Gargant players. And it was every army that was there to compete. The grand majority of everybody was great sportsmanship. Everyone had a great time.
Although everyone was still a little surprised to see Nighthaunt on the podium. Yeah, but it's the army I like and that I play, and I really like that rend doesn't affect it because a lot of our games, not that that was the only factor, but some of the lists that we played heavy into their rend.
Yeah.
And they would be like, oh, like I have a -2 rend. And I'm like, oh, that's nice.
Don't care.
And I get to ignore it. So it just, for me, it's very, very consistent. And I don't have to worry about, the math back and forth. And I can just play the army the way that I know how to play.
Yeah. And, Nighthaunt plays a different game. And when everyone has long range rend and mortal wound shooting, and they're built to kill Mega Gargants. They're building to kill dragons now. It's that meta shift. And then you see a horde of ghosts coming in, and you don't have horde clearing stuff because you built to kill a Mega Gargant. Like, we had horde clearing stuff because I had weight of dice with my archers. She had weight of dice with her Harridans. Spirit Host for Mortal Wounds. They're like old school zombies almost. With Mortal Wounds on 6s to hit with a bucket of attacks each. It's 6 attacks a model. You can get 4 or 5 pretty reliably into combat, even with the way coherency works now. And it's just, we were able to take all comers with our lists, and we didn't even run into the big meta lists, which is kind of funny. But, and Deepkin are good into KO, and Fire Slayers was just nice because we got this, because, I said to the guy, he had his 4-up war save, and I'm like, listen, I play Phoenix Garden Cities. I want to see you roll 4-ups. And you know what? He rolled average, but I still dumped 50-something shots in there. And then was able to get into fight and finish him off. And a word save can only get you so far.
But I think at the end of the day, this really shows that, play the army that you like.
Yep.
And if you...
The build you like, too, with the models you like.
Yeah.
Because no one will see it coming.
And if you have a little help with maybe a little bit of a veteran or an expert that can help you build it right with the right buffs and the right artifacts, that you can play really whatever you want as long as you plan to head for it.
Yeah. That's the best part. No one saw Nighthaunt coming out of the way. I was the only Deepkin player. No one prepared for that.
But they were afraid of Shelly. Everyone knows what Shelly does, and so they would target me instead. But then when my units didn't die, they were like, oh, well, this is a problem.
Yeah, like you'd get down to like one Banshee, and then
I just bring them all back.
Yeah, and then they'd be like, bring back D3 Spirit Host models from Ruler of the Spirit Host, and they're just like, what? You can do that? Like, yeah. I'm playing with a 1st edition book currently. She's playing with the very first book of 2nd edition, and we played people with new books with all this codex creep and all the buzzwords, and we got 2nd. We had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of fun. We want to thank the Orlandos again for throwing this event. We'll be coming to South Jersey to play in Claymore events every chance we get. We had a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And anything else you want to
add? No, I really enjoyed my first tournament experience overall, and super exciting to get 2nd. Gives me someplace to go, like, try for 1st next time or see what happens. And, it's just a nice place to be after my first, relatively small tournament.
Yeah. No, it was a lot of fun. And I love doubles events because it's also one of those things. I know this is a long episode. I'll be quick with this rant. It's one of those things where if someone brings a 2,000 point army on their own, they'll have everything they want to play, which is why I like playing at different points limits sometimes, like 1750, 1500, 1000, and doing these doubles things. Because it varies the builds, it varies the meta. It lets some armies that are really good on, say, summoning, like Beast of Chaos, seem so overpowered when they're bringing stuff in. And it keeps playing the games fresh and stops you from being burnt out. So I highly recommend playing like this, doing narrative games in between your tournament stuff to see what these other armies could do. Because, like, a lot of people won't bring Nighthaunt to tournaments because they're afraid they're going to get blown off the table, but they'll try in smaller things. And then you learn what they do, you see what happens, and then, not even by accident, because she played so well, again, equal to what my Deepkin's damage output was, all the stuff that she did with screening, blocking, being an anvil, doing damage from volume of attacks, and using all these buffs, and all these auras, and all the good healing.
And reminding our captain here of what's the best activation to use. Making sure you never forgot about my Nighthaunt units that still needed to attack.
Yeah. And, it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. And if you stayed here, too, what question should we ask for the comments here?
I don't know, maybe their dream pairs list?
Okay, yeah. What would be your ideal doubles partners army? Like what do you play and what would you want to be paired with? It could be anything. Let's get some doubles hype going on here. Everyone's going big on 2K tournaments. Let's talk about these fun, close knit teams. Ooh, even better. What would your team name be?
Mm.
Let's get to the real stuff. Screw the meta. What would you call yourselves for your doubles team?
Well, wouldn't that depend on who their partner is
Maybe, I don't know. But with
and what
that,
their
ladies and
list?
okay, fair. That's why she's the brains. Anyway, with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to class today. And as I like to say at the end of all our videos,
Class dismissed.
bye.